Hey everyone, I am Charan and I work as a Senior Program Manager in the Azure Cognitive Services team at Microsoft. Welcome to DPS. Today I will be walking you through the Microsoft Language Translation offering. I hope to cover a high-level overview of our capabilities. We delve a little deeper into one of our latest offering, which is the Document Translator, and then I'll close the session with a short demo. Here's a summary of the various language support offerings that the Azure Cognitive Services provides across both speech as well as text. On the speech side, we have speech to text, text to speech, as well as on the text side, we have intent modeling, translation, as well as transliteration capabilities. We'll be focusing on the translation and the transliteration aspects for this talk. But before we delve a little deeper, right, just to set the context on why machine translation is so important or gaining traction, what we have to understand is a large population of multilingual societies today are trickling into the digital world for the very first time. Now, developing countries such as India, Brazil, Russia, and so on have these large swathes of people who are non-English speaking natives who are just coming online for the very first time. Businesses are now looking to tap into this underserved user population, which represents a very, very significant opportunity. Right, so Microsoft, through our translation API, provides developers and users with this ability to embed translation into their service, into their platforms, thus enabling translation of text in real time or across batches with support for over 90 languages in translation, as well as 37 languages in terms of transliteration too. Now, the translation service itself is built on top of NMT with latest advancements in neural machine translation, and it has enterprise level data security too. Now, in this talk, I will walk through the various capabilities offered, the translation service, and how these services are being employed to reduce barriers to adoption across both products as well as services in Microsoft and outside. One of the key use cases for translation is translation of text. For instance, content conversion, both real-time as well as localization of static or dynamic content of websites as well as mobiles. Enabling search in the local language for now is another key use case of translation of text, where as businesses want to cater to users who are non-English speakers, they want to enable users to type in their native tongue and be able to search for products. Third is the businesses themselves would cater to these non-English speaking natives via creation of catalogs in native languages, which employs power of machine translation too. Similarly, with a large number of media companies putting out OTT videos, there's an explosion in terms of content, and the consumption of this content is being made accessible to swathes of population across languages by employing subtitle generation in multiple languages, including Indic languages. Another key use case where neural machine translation is being employed is the real-time translation of audio as well as video content. This could be across multiple sub-use cases such as educational videos or communication platforms enabling multilingual users to communicate, or educators trying to create content in a single language but is being made accessible to multiple other languages for users to consume, and so on. Well, last but not the least, machine translation is being actively employed to enable vernacular-based voice searches across various businesses and platforms. This is particularly useful because users can now access applications in their native languages to search for products as well as services, thereby reducing their barriers to adoption. With such reduced barriers to adopting these services and products, businesses can now see higher engagement, which translates to higher revenue and therefore profitability. With a brief overview of the various use cases that we just saw, the translation market itself is set to grow from about 55 billion that it is today to about 74 billion in 2025, with most of the growth opportunities coming from such interpretation services. I will next talk about how Microsoft and its MT service can enable the various customers to be part of this large opportunity. The Azure Machine Translation is an AI service for real-time text and document translation. With the translator, you can use it to 1. Detect languages of the text, and 2. Translate text with a simple REST API call to many target languages that we support. The service, as I had mentioned earlier, uses modern neural machine translation tech and offers statistical machine translation capability as well. So apart from text translation, Translator also provides REST API endpoints for transliteration. Now, transliteration for the uninitiated is the process of converting a word or phrase from the script of one language to another based on phonetic similarity. For example, you could translate the word namaste. Imagine namaste in the Devanagari Hindi script to vanakkam in Tamil in the Tamil script. Now, there are more than one way to perform this transliteration, but in short, to get a transliteration from the translate endpoint, you can use a toScript parameter. You can also use the transliteration endpoint directly to get a specific transliteration. Now, when you're using this endpoint, you must provide the source language, which is the source script or from script parameter, as well as the output script or toScript parameters. Apart from text, Translator also supports custom translation, which allows you as a user to build your own neural machine translation systems. Now, these models can be built with domain-specific custom data or dictionaries using the custom translator from Azure. Right? Now, in the last 1 year, the translation service considerably improved on language coverage as well, moving from about 70 languages to over 90 languages, which we will talk about in the next slide. We have also introduced two new capabilities in the translator service. One, the document translation, which processes documents and translates them asynchronously using either general or custom models, very similar to the text translation that I just spoke about. Text translation is also containerized to run on Kubernetes. This enables customers to translate their content on premise without sending the content over on the cloud. As I mentioned on the previous slide, one of the key gaps that our translation service, as pointed out by our customers as well as the field team, was that Google has a broader coverage of languages and we don't. We worked really hard over the last 1 year to address this gap, and we've added support for 18 new languages and dialects this year. We have 10 plus languages in our pipeline. You can also refer to this link in this presentation to get access to the full suite of languages that we support today. We support language translation for over 90 plus languages and transliteration for 37 odd languages. Now let's go a little deeper on the new document translation feature. Document translation, as the name suggests, enables users to translate large volumes of documents in a variety of file formats. Now these formats could include text, HTML, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and even legacy file formats, right? Users can translate these documents across these formats easily into a single or multiple target languages while continuing to preserve the layout and structure of the original file. Now, do you have documents with mixed languages in them? Oh, no problem. Document translation would easily and automatically detect the languages in the document and get them translated into the target language of your choice. You could also bring your translation memory or build custom models and use it to translate documents. Or you could simply create custom glossaries and apply it during translation too. Oh, by the way, you could also translate documents into multiple languages in a single request. The service itself is enterprise ready and with support for AAD-based authentication and secure storage access with managed identity. We also support SAS tokens as well. Here is the workflow to enable document translation for a batch of documents and how it can be automated with these simple sequence of steps. The client uploads the source document into the source container and makes a request to the service. The service pulls the document from storage and returns an ID. The user can then set up polling with the ID received to get the status of the request. Now, the document translation service itself, once it completes its translation, puts the content back in the target container. These documents are now available for the user to consume. And as I mentioned earlier, these steps can be chained and automated to set up an asynchronous translation of large volumes of documents. Here is a summary of a bunch of operations that the document translation service itself supports. There are a few GET operations which cater to the capabilities of the service itself, such as document formats, glossary formats, as well as storage sources. A POST operation to start the translation itself at a batch level, and a bunch of get operations to know the status of the translation at different levels, such as batches and then at an ID level, at a total overall batch level, as well as at a document level. We also support a delete function to delete the translation at a batch and ID level. Now let's look at some sample requests for translating different types of scenarios where we want to translate all documents in a folder as well as translating a single document. Now by providing three values, the source URL, the target URL, and the target language, all documents within a given container can be translated to the target language. Similarly, by specifying the source type as file, you could translate a single document within that particular folder. Isn't that really easy? We could also translate all documents using a custom model. Now by passing the custom model ID as category value, you could translate entire documents applying your own models with your own glossaries. You could also define your own terminology and glossary in the industry standard XLF, TSV or CSV formats, as can be seen here. Here is an example output from our document translation service. On the left is the source document, which is well structured and has a specific layout, and it also includes structured content in terms of well-defined headers, presence of tables, etc. On the right is the translated document that is obtained after calling the document translation endpoint. What you will notice is that the exact structure continues to be preserved and the layouts are retained in the translated document as well, including the columns, the highlights, the tables, font colors, etc. I will also be walking you through a live demo at the end of the session to show you the power of this capability in real time. Before we go over to the demo, here's a short summary of the various resources you could use to understand the machine translation service better. For example, you could reach out to the microsoft.com/translator to understand more about our products and services. I also would urge you to check out the Translator Sample app that is hosted on GitHub. This app is made available along with the source code for developers and enterprises to use and build on top of. You can also reach us at translator@microsoft.com or share any feedback that you may have to mtfp@microsoft.com. Thank you.